Hey everybody, welcome to another evening here at Northwoods TCG. So tonight we're going to be talking about, is investing real in Pokemon? I thought that this was a really good conversation. The live was really good. I will say it was really well put together in general. I think okJLUV did a really good job in general on it, but I think that there were some questions that were kind of left unanswered on that evening. So we're going to go over that tonight as we get going. Number one. Number two, we do have a membership giveaway. So for the membership from last month. So for anybody that joined in April, we will be doing a members giveaway. So there is a total of 11 members that we'll be doing a giveaway for tonight. Also, we'll be doing this every month, but since there's new store merch, I'm going to be doing a merch giveaway. So basically, whoever wins tonight, all you got to do is message me your t-shirt size, your address, and I will make sure that I get that sent out to you. That's what we're going to go out with this time through the member giveaway, but we're going to keep switching it up too. I've got some other things we'll keep doing. If we get more membership in and more members in that backside, this is my appreciation to you guys for supporting the channel. It's greatly appreciated. So we're going to be doing that as well. So we've got 11 members that came in last month, and then the membership is open. So overall, guys, like I said, we're just going to kind of let it roll until we see some people in the chat, and so we see some people coming in. Hey, Garen, there's our first member. He's in here right now. So we do have the giveaway. So like I said, we're going to be doing a little bit of store merch. I did get the merch thanks to iFOMO and some other people that were really requesting some merch. We do have that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Son of a Merc. We're just kind of waiting for people to come in. Yeah, I didn't catch it all last night. I caught a good portion of it last night, and then I watched the rest of it today. So I actually watched it for about 2.5 hours last night, and then I caught the rest of the last hour and a half this morning because it was about 4 hours long. A little hard for me to find that much time to sit down and just listen to a live, but overall, I thought it was decent live. I thought it was a really good perspective from a lot of different individuals. Cool Trainer Ryan really came in there at the end, and really, I think he did a really good job. Overall, I think he put some things in perspective, really had a good way of explaining things, really did a really good job overall when it came down to that. And, the real question that did come out of it, is investing a real thing? And I think that there's always going to be an opposition to that. There's always going to be an opposition and a for it, no matter what we do at this point in the hobby. When we get a hobby of this age, when you start getting older and older and older, and when you've seen, continued growth and success inside of a hobby to where it continues to grow and become better, that's just a good sign that it is something that's there. Now, the big question is like even Cool Trainer Ryan pointed out in that video or in that discussion during the live, is that he knows people that have warehouses full of Pokemon products. I mean, he's not the only person I've heard that from, so I absolutely do believe Cool Trainer Ryan, and it wouldn't be in his best interest to tell us that unless he is being open about it. Because let's be honest, if you're holding any of these Pokemon products and you're retaining these products, knowing and letting people know that there's someone with a warehouse of this particular product is not good for your investment in general. It gets people a little bit leery for when that product will be released into the market, and that's a big factor when it comes down to it. So do I believe Cool Trainer Ryan? Yes. I've also heard that from Mason from Cardinal Gaming. He said he's known people that have just pallets full of Flashfire. He said even MJ Holding has pallets full of Pokemon products still sitting in warehouses and places, and he knows people that have that as well. So we do know it's out there. We do know it exists, but even Cool Trainer Ryan made it pretty specific that regardless if these people have these particular products, it just depends on how fast they release them, when they release them, who they release them to. Will it be in our lifetime? If it's a young person, like he said, in his mid-40s, chances are is that I'm probably going to be out of this and my son's going to be dealing with it before that stuff ever releases. And that's a big discussionary factor is in Pokemon really investable? If that's the case, if there's that much product sitting out there, is it still investable? And realistically, when it comes down to investing in Pokemon, even though we're talking about it on here, how can you make money in Pokemon, and in investing into the Pokemon TCG, investment is still a risk reward game. And when you sit there and talk about it, like okJLUV even trying to kind of push against it being investing, is not necessarily true either, because you got to look at the definition of investing at the end of the day. When you look at the definition of investing is putting money into something with the expectation of a percentage return or equaling out at the end. And that's exactly what you're doing with Pokemon. Now, even okJLUV in that conversation, I don't hold anything against him. I think he did a really good job. I think overall it was a really good live. But even he said, well, I just collect cards. I don't care about the value. Well, I hate to say it, even myself, I collect cards. I have cards that I'll never sell, and I understand that. But I can tell you one thing, if my collection went to 0 tonight, I'd be a little bit upset about that. I'm not going to say that I'm going to go and just throw them away because they're garbage. I'd still keep them because I do enjoy the art. I do like Pokemon. I do enjoy Pokemon. But the fact of the matter is that we are human. And when it comes down to human nature in general, we are always looking at the value of something. We don't typically just give up on value. Just because we say it's a collection and we're never selling it doesn't mean that we don't have some kind of value point in our head on what that's worth, and that you're not somewhat keeping track of that value of that collection. So my binders, I kind of have a rough idea. Is it exact? No, I don't track them that close, and I don't necessarily go that deep into it to make sure that they're keeping value. Value isn't necessarily something I'm concerned about in my collection, but it's definitely a factor that if it went to 0 and you told me Pokemon was worthless tomorrow, I'd be a little bit upset that my collection that I value so highly myself and enjoy myself are all of a sudden not worth anything. And that's a factor that, yeah, you can sit there and say you have no value in your cards, but I don't believe you. You're still somewhat mentally continuing to hold that value in your head. Let's just be honest. It's just the way the human nature works. But in general, like I said, investing is there. Investing is real. It's not your traditional investments. And when you're talking about potential products sitting in the background, potentials of large amounts of stock still sitting there, but like Cool Trainer Ryan said in that video, and he put it very well, is that when it sells out on Pokemon Center and when it's no longer available at your supermarket or at your local store, there is going to be this slow increase in value in it just normally. And he's seen that even all the way back from XY when he came back. We've seen that even if you want to sit there and talk about like peak to peak. XY was a peak. So XY had a peak at the end of it because of Pokemon Go boom. We had a big insurgence of new people at that point as well, which caused that market to join up. Granted, it was a lot of players coming back. I don't know if it was as big of investors. I think some investors always show up. I mean, even back when I was in it in 99 to 2006, I was collecting things with the thought process that these would have value someday. Yeah, I got out of it way too early, but in general, I was just getting out of the hobby because I was getting older and I was moving on to other things in 2006. And yeah, I sold myself way too low. But looking back, hindsight's always 20/20. Did I make money from 99 to 2006 holding on to booster boxes, sealed booster boxes of base set and on up? Yeah. Of course I did. I made really decent money actually at the time when it came down to those particular booster boxes. But that is definitely a very interesting topic. It's a very interesting discussion. And like I said in the beginning of the video, investing is a real thing. It's just how do we interpret it? How do we look at it in the safest ways possible? And do I agree with, I always call it blanket investing. Typically when I talk about investing, I'm trying to pick out specific products, something that will have really good value and you should be focusing on this point in time and really seeing that that's the point where you want to be purchasing in on these particular products and getting your best opportunity for growth on these, not just doing a blanket. Because realistically, I could tell you go buy every booster box and then Sword and Shield, look at it in 5 years, and you're probably going to go up in value. It's probably the most realistic thing I could ever say. And it's been the truth in the statements of Pokemon TCG since the beginning. I mean, buying base set booster boxes in 99 and 2006, I was selling them for $200. Yeah, I was buying them for like $49, $40 in 1999 and 2000 and 2001, but they did get value over time, and it's something that occurs. It's just that Sword and Shield was such a weird time. The amount of the boom, the growth of that boom, and the acceleration that we've seen is probably what I would call the biggest black swan event. And the interesting thing is that even listening to that live, they kept talking about even the single investments and how those actually work. How someone my size could sit there and influence the market. Someone the size of Nostalgianomics could influence the market. Someone the size of these 20,000, subscriber channels, even Poke Office could actually manipulate the market based on what they say. And to a point, that's true. But the facts is that anybody can manipulate the market, right? Someone could go on the TCG player and buy a card really high at a really high price all of a sudden when there's maybe there's only like 10 left. And all of a sudden someone goes and buys the back end one and it makes the TCG player bounce up. Why would they do that? Well, maybe they just felt like doing it. Maybe they just thought it would get them a better quality. Maybe these things could happen. And that's what I always call a black swan event. And in markets, that's what we call a black swan event. Now, if you were to go do that on another card, does that mean it would be influencing that particular card? No, it won't. It may not. Right? It's just weird how sometimes things in the market will affect this particular item. So the Moonbryon V, a perfect example. The Moonbryon V actually went through, and let's say okJLUV said it and said it was his favorite card, and it caused that Moonbryon V to go way up in price. But then you look, like they said in there, even they pointed out, the Luminion. Perfect example. He was chasing them Luminion, making it this big deal about how he couldn't pull that card, and it spiked for only a couple days and it dropped right back out. It wasn't something that held. So there's these black swan events that we can't predict them. Even nobody can predict them. And when they occur, it's sometimes just the most fluky thing that can happen. Even the investment spectrum and the Pokemon TCG in 2020, when COVID occurred, when all that happened, it was just a perfect black swan event of storm of things. We had people stuck at home. We had people with extra stimulus money. We had people outreaching for community. We had people doing this and this and this. And it was like this constant just barrage of things that were continually rolling and rolling and rolling. And we cannot necessarily recreate that. If we had another pandemic, would that happen again? And people have asked that. If we got another pandemic, would we see Pokemon TCG accelerate? We may not. It may not be a replicatable event. And these are all things that, when it comes down to Pokemon investing, and when you're talking about these things and who's manipulating, and is this a real factor and a real thing when it comes down to the actual Pokemon TCG? To me, it is. There is opportunity. Is it high risk? Yes. Is 35% of your investments are in Pokemon insane? Yes. I would never, ever have that much investment in Pokemon. Nostalgianomics, hats off to you, man. If you're actually running 35% of your total investments in Pokemon TCG, then my hats are off to you, man. You've got a lot more faith than I even have in this particular hobby on being able to maintain a growth spectrum that's outperforming other avenues. Because I sit there and look at it going, okay, typically my Pokemon investment is roughly around 7 at any given time. 5 to 7% of my investments are in Pokemon. I'm just going to be transparent. Most of mine is in property, but I'm a farmer, and that's what we do. We buy property. I own a lot of land. I own a lot of buildings. I own a lot of assets, and those things are actually where my investments are. My business is a big investment at the paper side of things. So in general, I'm about 5 to 7%, and that's where I'm comfortable at. If it went up over 10%, I would either be looking at where do I need to adjust to, better my other investments, because obviously they're not performing quite as well, or B, I'd be looking at reinvesting and starting to probably reduce my Pokemon stock and trying to get my other investments to grow. Because once again, I'm not going to personally put a lot of my total investments into the Pokemon TCG. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do. It's a lot of fun to be looking at. But when it comes down to the securities of the market and securities of investing, Pokemon doesn't have all the securities that come with owning land. And once again, investing in land is physical property. I own that physical property, which was an argument that, Nostalgianomics made, that other investments really don't count because they're not really something you hold or have in hand. But yes, my property investments, I definitely have in hand. I can go walk my property. I can go hunting on my property. I can go fishing on some of my properties because they're on lakes and got rivers on them. Those are all things that are factors. Yes, 35%, little extreme. I don't think I could personally let my investment go that high into the Pokemon TCG. I'm just fine around 5 to 7. I think that's a really good ratio. And also on this channel, I think most of the members that are probably in the chat right now have heard me say several times in videos, this is not a primary investment. I don't believe that Pokemon will ever be a primary investment. I always think that it is a great hobby, tertiary investment. You should be first filling out your 401ks if possible, using your work to A lot of times they have, you get 3% from your employer if you put 3% on. Maximize those particular investments. Make sure that if you can get into property and start buying property, there's really good investment opportunities, longevity type investments in those particular areas. And once again, I always max out those particular items first, and then Pokemon becomes my next focus. So as of this month now, we are putting on my last 401k payment, or my last investment into my Roth IRA. So I'm maxed out for the year. That's just what we do through the business. That's a business investment in myself for my retirement. So that's already taken care of. Now I'm looking into other investments. So possibly for the farm, probably not this year, but next year we're looking at adding more land. And there's another investment that we're going to be making in land. There we got equipment investments. So we're going to be making equipment investments for upgrading as well. So once again, Pokemon is fun. It's fun. It's a fun hobby. It's definitely should remain somewhat as a hobby. I think that it has great investability potential if you are willing to pull and put away stuff for a long period of time, or if you want to do like a lot of us do, play the short-term market sometimes, and you can use it just like a stock market. Pokemon can be almost like a stock market, but on the other hand, always remember that this is a very high-risk end of things, and you are really dependent on the collector and the last person. So for example, okJLUV, his Julian, when he was talking about it, how he buys stuff and he just puts it away. That is where I want my cards to go. If I'm selling, that is the end all be all, is that collector that's going to take that particular item and just put it away, and now it's out of the market, right? It's gone. That seller or that buyer might be gone, but that particular product's gone too. It's not going to show back up on TCG Player as a competitive card in another 6 months. It's not going to come back around on eBay, or he's not going to send it out to get graded to wrap it around and come back around again. These are the people that I personally like to see these cards go to as me as an investor, is to see them go to someone that they're going into a binder and they're gone, because that just removes more supply out of this market and it makes it so that your market can grow. So yes, I think Pokemon is an investment. I think that there is true investability to it. I think a lot of people need to understand if they're not. Now, I think that JLove and some other people like to, especially the people that are on that wave side of the fence, that nobody should be doing this. I think that they're in the thought process that you don't know what you're doing. You're coming in and you're typing in the word investment, and the first investment you come up on is a Pokemon investment. You've never invested in anything in your life, and you've never made any, moves in your life when it comes down to investments, and they think that you're going to lead these people down the stray that, this is better than 401k. Let me go down that road. And yeah, I do see how, maybe somebody very, very new would run into that. But I do think that a lot of people have enough common sense to understand that there are more traditional investments. This is a hobby. This is a collectible. You can look at any collectible in the history of these collectibles and see what has occurred inside of them, whether you go through baseball, any kind of sports cards, any TCG cards. You can go down to sports cars or even classic cars for collectibles. I mean, yeah, there's some really expensive types of collectibles. And these are all things that, are definitely considerations when you're looking at this particular market. So once again, really good live. I did enjoy it. I did like Cool Trainer Reiner kind of stepping up and saying, yeah, I know where there's warehouses of these particular items. I know where there is tons of these cards sitting in warehouses. No, they're probably not going to see the market in our lifespan potentially, but just know that they are there. And yet Tag Team is going up by just leaps and bounds. Why is it going up by leaps and bounds? Because the availability on the market is still scarce. Most people don't know about that particular item, and him saying it could open up a can of worms. So overall, I think that it was really, really good. Really good perspectives. And Opossum Bud was doing his thing, of course, just like always, and he put in some really good points along the way as well. And it was just a good live. I think that they did a really good job. I think it was really well done. I think overall it really got some really good information, and I really would like to see what JLove came out of that video as well too. Nostalgianomics did his video today. I was kind of following the other channels, seeing who was going to say what and what follow-ups would come out of this, because I would love to hear what JLove's okJLUV's last thoughts were on that particular video or that particular live. Did his mind change a little bit about the stance of Pokemon investing, or is he still right where he was? That Pokemon investing doesn't really exist. It's not really a real thing. You know, where's he at? I would just be curious to know that. That would be a really interesting piece of information for me to just kind of hear from some of these individuals that were in that live, how they, if anything, changed in their mindset. The other thing is too is that that's one thing that I mean, I've compared to other industries in the markets, and I've done that in videos where I've actually discussed how well it's performed, because even my Pokemon investments last year outperformed all my other investments in total. Now, once again, I've never been the type of guy to tell you that you should sell out of your other investments, and I don't ever want to give that impression on this channel that you should be selling out of your investments and moving them into Pokemon. I think that that's foolhardy in a way, and if you're just continuing to do it as a side hustle, use expendable money to invest in. If you're maxed out on your 401ks, if your debts, and I always say, make sure your credit cards are paid off before you get it. You can use credit cards. I use credit cards on a monthly basis in order to get those points and get the points back and things like that, cash back. You can do those kind of things, those kind of moves. Yes, if I can save 2-3% on buying a product, of course I'm going to do that. But make sure that you're paying off your credit cards. Make sure you don't have this, debt that's just unsubstantiated debt, such as credit cards, because the interest rates are just so high. Yes, most individuals are going to have a mortgage. Most individuals are going to have a car payment. These are all just things of life that we have. But if you can pay off as much of that as you can and give yourself that expendable money, it gives you the opportunity to be able to do what you want and be able to get in this hobby. A lot of us that are deeper in this hobby, even myself, I don't have any credit card debt. I just don't. I never believed in credit card debt. I've always believed in leveraging credit cards to my benefit, and I've done that several times throughout history. But I've never really had credit card debt. I got in trouble with it when I was in college. I paid it off as soon as I could. It took me a couple of years to get out of it, and I've just never trusted the system again. I just don't do it. Same thing with my 401ks and my Roth IRAs. Those are the first things that I invest in at the beginning of the year. I max them out, get that maximum money into there. That way I have a good set retirement plan, because let's be 100% honest, even though Pokemon is 26 years old at this point in time, 26, 27 years old, whatever it is now, we do not have a great, I don't want to say a great, but comparatively to the U.S. stock market, we have no history on the Pokemon TCG. Compared to sports cards, we have very little window in the Pokemon TCG. 25 years is nothing, realistically. In the line of the world and everything that's been out there for where you could use graphs, charts, and learn data, the Pokemon TCG is very narrow. And the other issue we have with the Pokemon TCG is, like they said, every generation is apples to oranges. Even back then, you couldn't compare base set and Gen 1 to Gen 2. They were completely different animals, and they act completely differently. Sword and Shield being this generation is definitely this Sword and Shield generation. And there's lots of new people. There's lots of things going on. It was a hyped time. A lot of interest for younger people in the future, potentially, on that. Does that mean that Scarlet and Violet is going to do the same thing? No, it doesn't. Scarlet and Violet might act completely different. Sun and Moon act differently. XY is acted differently. Everything's kind of done their own thing, and they're all independent. And to compare each generation, you really don't have enough data in Scarlet and Violet to know. A lot of it's just speculating. And once again, if you're using expendable money to speculate into there, then there's very little risk, and there is opportunity. With risk, there is reward in a typical investing market, or there's complete and catastrophic failure. It goes one way or the other. Typically, there really isn't much in between. But when you have a successful company like Pokemon TCG is investing into a booster box of Obsidian Flame at a medium price, at $95, a bad thing? Probably not. Probably in 5-10 years, you're going to be absolutely happy with where that goes. And that's just how it's going to be. In every generation, of course, we're already halfway through this generation, which is hard to believe. We're already coming up on Gen 10. We'll probably be talking about that by the end of this year. We're probably going to have some information coming out about the next generation of Pokemon moving out of Scarlet and Violet. Because crazy as it is, we're already just over a year into this one. So when we get into next year, probably about this time next year, we're going to be talking about Gen 10 Pokemon, which is a really interesting thing. It kind of blows your mind how quickly you move into this hobby and how things move, and I always wondered how I stayed in it from 99 to 2006 and didn't really think much of it. But now that I've been back in it since 2019 again, it's crazy to see how fast, time just flies, how fast you've moved through all of these different generations, starting at Gen 7 with Sun and Moon and going to Gen 8 and now into Gen 9. It's just crazy how quickly things just roll through. And, some booster boxes, Sword and Shield booster boxes, are definitely a focus, I think, for Pokemon investment. They're out of print now. There's, granted, we could still see the last gen, last 4 sets of Pokemon get reprinted. I know a lot of individuals think it's dead, 100% dead. And I will never say at this point in time that it's 100% dead, because at any point in time, Pokemon right now could say, well, we're running out of Lugia. Lugia Vs are getting really high, and it's still playable right now. Let's print some more. You can see Silver Tempest. Same thing with the Arceus deck. Still playable. I see people still playing it pretty consistently. They could reprint Brilliant Stars. There's nothing saying that just because they sold out of Pokemon Center, that set is still playable. It is still in playing rotation. So it'll be really interesting to see for sure if it's dead. Will we see a reprint before it's completely out? I don't think so. Personally, my feelings is that they are so focused on Scarlet and Violet at this point in time that we will see probably good investability in those particular sets. Am I buying Silver Tempest right now? Yes, I'm buying Silver Tempest. So I'm going to be 100% honest. It's not as strong as Brilliant Stars and Lost Origins, but the price point is still right. And overall, I think that generation is going to be very, very hot futuristically. So I have no problem buying into Silver Tempest as well while it's still available. So yeah, that's exactly where I'm at right now. And I think I'm confident that if you were to buy any kind of booster box right now, that you would see some percentage gain of it in 3 to 5 years. I feel 100% confident with that personally. Now, would I tell you to go take my confidence and run with it? Not necessarily, but I'm just going to tell you what my absolute feelings are, is that I feel if you were to buy Obsidian Flames, wait 5 years, pull it out of closet, it's probably going to have some value. That's just been the way it's been with Pokemon all the way back to 1999. Like I said, it was the same thing when I sold out in 2006. All that stuff had more value, a lot more value than when I purchased it. Base set, jungle, all those 4X in the 7 years that I held that product. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at, guys. And like I said, I just want to touch up on that. I wanted to go over it because it was a really good discussion. If you have not seen it, I'll make sure I link it in the video afterwards. I should have done that beforehand, but I did not. So I will link that for anybody out there that wants to sit down and watch it. If not, check out JLUV's channel. It is on there as a live. And it's a 4-hour long live, guys. It's a long live. I lasted 2.5 hours yesterday, and I went another, hour and a half today. But at least the hour and a half today, I could put it on 2X, so that was kind of nice, or 1.5, so that way I went a little bit quicker. But good information. Cool Trainer Ryan really stepped up. I was wondering what Cool Trainer Ryan was going to do. What CTR was going to do was, when he was coming on live, I was really interested to see where that was going to go, because Cool Trainer Ryan. Wow, I'm having a real problem with that one. CTR has a real good habit of sometimes going way off the rails, and who knows where he's going to go, but he did really well. Fantastic job overall. I think that it was a really good live and really good informational. So what we're going to do real quick here before I get back to the live stream, I see there's a lot of comments in here, so thank you, everybody. I'm just going to do a quick acknowledgement. So Garen, thank you so much. Son of Merc, thank you so much. Spencer, thank you so much for being in here. iPhone, of course, thank you so much for joining and modding this beast like you always do. Greg, thank you so much as well. Refine Me is in here. Thank you so much for jumping in as well. And Aaron, thank you so much for joining us, Aaron. Matthew, thank you so much as well. So I see there's a couple people in here that are members. So what we're going to do today is once a month, we're going to do a member giveaway, probably the first live of the month, such as today. We'll be doing could have done it April 1st, but it was a little bit tight. I just didn't get it all set up. So what we're going to do is that I wanted to do this time for members, as I said at the beginning. We're going to be doing a giveaway. I've got all your guys in a card. I'm going to shuffle them up. I'm going to have one of my members, either iFOMO or one of you guys, call out a number 1 through 11. We're going to pull that, and then we're going to be giving away one free t-shirt, merch t-shirt to you. And I will just need to have you send me your address and your name and your shirt size, and I will get one of them sent out to you. I'm kind of excited. If you guys have not seen, I don't know if I have the link on here. I might have to put it on. iFOMO, maybe you could pull the link I sent you and put it in the chat for the merch store. So by request, I did have some merch, had some people asking for merch, so I did put them up. I did not go as classical. I got one just classic Northwoods TCG one, but I did have 2 graphics made up. A little bit more fun. They're not necessarily like labeled Northwoods TCG. They are my character in it, but it's not labeled all over the place with Northwoods TCG. It's just a little fun little shirt. So if you'd like, go ahead and check that out. And it's, like I said, it's just a little bit of fun. And we're going to be giving one of those away today for one of the members of the channel. So we're going to do that this month. And then, we'll do this every month at the beginning. So any new members that come in will be added into the giveaway starting at the beginning of next month. So we'll go ahead and switch screens here real quick. So like I said, I got my little easel all set up here. So we got this all up. And like I said, I got all of them. And I've also got the time you've been in here. So we got iFOMO for 14 days, Leechy, Son of a Merc. We got Garen M for 14 days. We got Grim the Nerd for 14 days. We got Catch 'em All Collectibles in here for 2 months. Ernie in here for 2 months. We have Trainer Sin Collectors for 5 months. We've got Don in here for 7 months. We got Ivan in here for 7 months. And, of course, we've got free Pokemon giveaway all the way back 24 months. So he is by far my longest running member. He joined in before his name was Free Pokemon. And, honestly, I don't remember what his name because he changed it right after he joined. And he has been a member for a really long time. If you do want to have some fun, go check him out on YouTube. And the other thing I'm going to do with members too is that I'm going to start putting them in the credits at the end as well. I'm going to do a little credit reel for the members just as a thank you for everybody that supports the channel. It's greatly appreciated for everybody out there. It's not necessary, but it's definitely appreciated. And that's what I said, tonight we're going to be doing this giveaway, and we'll be doing one every month. And it'll get bigger too. If we get more and more members in here, we'll do some more in there as well. So well, thank you so much, John, for joining in. Great information coming from your point of view on the market for Pokemon and other investments. Well, thank you so much for that, John. Greatly appreciated. And like I said, I see there's some questions up here, so we will do this first just to celebrate the members, and then we will kick back and go back into it. So they're good and mixed up. I see iFOMO. Let's do Son of Merc. Are you still in here? Son of Merc is still in here. Why don't you call a number 1 through 11, and we'll pull that out. CTR came on, it was probably the last hour and 45 minutes, maybe the last 45 minutes, maybe the last 2 hours. Pick a number 1 through 11, Son of a Merc. 8. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there's our number 8 right there. So let's see who's going to win a shirt. It's going to be free Pokemon giveaway. So I'll get a hold of him and let him know that he is our winner for this month. Kind of interesting. The person that had the longest time here won. So congratulations to him. I will make sure that I message him as well if he doesn't see the live a little bit later. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody who subscribed to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Yeah. Okay, so it was about an hour and 45 minutes left. So 2 hours and 15 minutes in. Yeah, I knew it was right there about the midway point. So, all right. So we got that taken care of. Let me switch back to the other screen. And like I said, as we get more members, we'll definitely be adding more stuff. But I thought it was a good way to start out this month. Having the new merch there available for you guys, that we would give one of those away. So, like I said, thank you everybody that's joined in and joined the membership. It's greatly appreciated. And we'll be doing that again at the beginning of next month for everybody who's still a member or is a new member here. So let's see. Son of a Merc. You ended up watching last night. I already answered that one. Hi, FOMO. Yeah, watching. Just going through real quick. All things can coexist as well. Fill binders, hold sealed, as well as selling things to fund the rest of those. Exactly. I mean, it is really easy to do that in general. You can easily sit there and, coexist with everybody. There's no reason to pick on one end of the hobby just because you don't necessarily agree with it. And the only one that I really don't agree with and will never agree with is scalping in general. Taking from your own Walmart and then selling back, just cleaning out a Walmart or a whole store just because is just not something that I would really condone at that point. But, have I gone through and pulled the whole clearance aisle because there's, C22 tins at $9.98? Yeah, I have. But, it's always that give and take factor of it. And you know what? Those tins sat there for almost a week, almost 2 weeks before I actually went after them. I actually let them sit for quite a while, so I don't feel too bad about doing some of those things. I usually try and let them sit for a little bit for people to have opportunities at them, and I think that that's a really, really good thing. Hey, 4K Traveler Travel Tours, thank you so much for dropping in. Greg C., if you open packs or grade cards, you're not investing, you are gambling. In a way. Greg, I would agree partially on that. If you're opening packs, I definitely can 100% agree that is gambling. And basically anybody who's opening packs is gambling. If you're searching for a chase card and you're opening packs, yes, you are gambling. Now, some people do open packs just for selling. So if you're looking at like an LCS where you're trying to get some of those trainer cards out of there, where you're trying to build inventory, then you're not really gambling. You're doing it as a business investment to open those packs. And yeah, you might accidentally grab a couple hits out of there. But in general, their more sellability is in the playing cards a lot of times. So even that can be seen both ways. Grading cards, you're not investing, you're gambling. Not really, in a way. I mean, you're always a gamble that the grader's not going to agree with the way that you did something. There's always that particular chance of that happening. But in general, once again, it's a lot of times just skill and taking your time looking over the cards and making sure that you do your experience of knowing what's going to grade well and what's not going to. So you can actually pre-grade pretty well. I think there's a lot of individuals, even in this chat, that when we pre-grade, we can get a lot of 10s out of a pre-grade set. I mean, I'm usually about 85%. So yeah, there's some things I miss. It's inevitable. Or like PSA was damaging cards. You can't prevent or adjust for that. But in general, you can sit there and pre-grade fairly well. Just depending on the company you're going to too. You can always adjust that. Let's see. I have FOMO. I wish you and Mason would have been there to talk about it as well. Yeah, I thought about, because you could have asked to jump in, but I really didn't feel like jumping in on it. I don't know. I was just going to watch and be content just watching that one. I mean, I understand Mason too. I mean, Mason has a really good point of view as well on a lot of these things. So in general, I think it would have been fun. I think it would have been really cool to sit down and have a discussion about it. Maybe put in a little bit different point of views. Nostalgianomics sometimes gets a little defensive, and when he gets defensive, he starts to almost repeat and not make points any longer, as much as just push the same point over and over and over again. And that's not really a good debate strategy a lot of times. And he did well. I mean, he had some really good points. He had some really good, strong points. But when a Potsenbud was really backing into him a lot, too, he started to go back to, everything goes up in price. Look at the history. It all goes up in price. It all goes up. Well, yeah, we get that. It all goes up in price. But that's not what the real question is. The question is how much can you predict it? Even like he said, as a retirement fund, you have an idea how far out you want that to before you want to cash in on that. And that's a number. You have that value. You have that at place. Is there that in Pokemon? How long do you want to be in this to see an investment on it? And that's, everything goes up in price is not, it's just, like I said, he did a good job, but there is a lot of times where he was doing that. It's like, man, you should almost jump in and try and, at least give a little bit more backing to it. But it was good. Everybody did good. I was going to say, I still like Pokemon Office. Well, why did you join the stream? Well, I just wanted to be seen. I want more people to see me, and I'm like, really? That's not a reason to get in on this. Just to be seen. And I don't know if I can't remember if he even had any good points, to be honest with you. He kind of sat there, from what I remember. Son of a Merc, I don't know, Greg. Grading is a gamble, but also a controllable gamble. I can assume, yep. Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what I'm just saying. Whenever I grade, I always look at the 9 value because I know when I send out, the chance of me getting an 8 if I'm pre-grading is very, very low. It's like 1 out of every 100 I'll get an 8. I know I'm typically going to get at minimum a 9, and the 10s are definitely a really good shot too. And like, Son of a Merc just said, if you know that you can make money at a 9 and you got some value in a 9 and you're grading those cards, you're not really gambling at that point in time. I mean, it's always a gamble because the grader could be mad and, his wife left him that morning and that could be an issue. But in general, you can control that a little bit better and you can actually have control over that gamble. Refine Me. I'm similar, 5% in Pokemon. We own 1,200 acres of farmland outright, which we rent out to 2 farms. Yep. And that's what we do too. We rotate with another farmer, and we're constantly rotating our land as well. My dad owns close to 1,000 acres, and now my wife and I own close to 400 acres. So we got 1,400 acres between the 2 families, and we rent it out. We use so many acres, we rent out what we don't to bigger farms, and you're continually just rotating that as paying basically we rent out enough land to pay the taxes on it. So we don't have any taxes on the land, and that's always what our kind of goal is just zero it for the year. Refine Me, my Pokemon investments are not for retirement, but to hopefully have my hobby be self-funding someday. Yeah. And that was always the goal of my, investment was basically to eventually become self-funding. If I wanted to build my collection, I was using my investment and my business side of Pokemon to do that and continue to grow it. And then that stuff ended up feeding into the actual hobby too. And the business kept feeding into it, and then investment ended up being inventory for the business for some of it. So it works out really well a lot of times when you get it all starting to work and get that stream flowing and getting that cash going. Definitely some really good ways to use that investment, even in the short term. Lost Origins, Brilliant Stars, all that, it ended up being very, very good for cash flow because I bought a lot of it at like $115, and then I went back to MSRP and above, and then you got that instant where I could pull some of it if I needed to for TikTok sales because I got a request for it, and you can continually kind of use that as leverage, as inventory in the long run as well, which is a good thing. I FOMO. Thank God we got investor. Yeah, Cool Trainer Ryan and not that goofy. Yeah, I mean, he came up really serious. That's what I mean. He can go either way. I love Cool Trainer Ryan. I love his content. And like it was said, the more and more I watch Cool Trainer Ryan, the more and more I can relate to him, which is why I think I really do like his content a lot of times. It's just sometimes he comes off like, whoa, he is way off, doing his thing. This time he came in with his game face on, and he did a really good job. And he had really good points both ways. He even talked stories about how him and PokeRev accidentally ran into things over and over and over again. And these are all things that are just things to consider as well. I mean, that's definitely a good way for him to come out in that particular scene. I think he did really well, and he brought some really good information for that actual live. He really did well to really strengthen the end of that live and make it really, really good. Yep, they went through the chat Q&A the last hour, so it's really 3 hours of listening. Cool Trainer Ryan came in and had about 45 minutes, maybe almost an hour. I think it was almost right there. He was there for about an hour, and then then they went into the chat Q&A. Julian did a really good job of pulling some of the questions throughout, too, if they were on point or, and kind of went a little bit deeper into one of the areas that they were discussing at that point in time. Aaron Scott. I don't own a single credit card. Probably should. The only good thing about owning a credit card is it's a line of credit, which helps your credit rating. So I actually have 4 credit cards. I don't use them, but they're open lines of credit, which means when I go to the bank and they look at my credit lines and they see that I have 4 open lines of credit that are like $2,500 a piece, that gives them a really good sense that, hey, this guy's responsible with his money, and it gives you that better credit rating. So that is one benefit to credit cards. I just hate the interest rates. I mean, there's just no reason to be 20. Even mine with my good credit rating are 29.99%, and it's like, I'm not putting any money on there. I'm gonna die. It's gonna eat my whole account out if I do. Aaron Scott, I can't even invest into sealed products because I can't. I know that's always your biggest problem, Aaron. Or even restocked. Sure, there's tons of product in the warehouse. So could be a new restock and not a reprint or a repackage. Yep, then that could be as well. Matthew Benton, thank you so much. Booster boxes will go up. Confident in that. But the problem is believing in the future is Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet not becoming as liquid as people believe for those with large sealed holdings. Yeah, and there's always that risk, and we've talked about that as well. Sometimes that's why it's really good to make those real good short-term plays where you can minimize that stock shelf, because if it's not as liquid, if, for example, I always use it because it's a really simple one that I did, and it's really simple to talk about, and that's like the Evolving Skies. You buy 10 with the intentions of selling half, you sell half, you reduce that amount of money that you have stuck on the shelf, and then you can turn that into something else, and by continually doing that over and over and over again, you create an inventory in your investments that really don't have a lot of value, so you can be liquid. Right now, those Evolving Skies boxes on the shelf have about $38. So right now, I have about $38 per booster box of 30 booster boxes sitting on the shelf for Evolving Skies. Now, is that very much? No, considering how much expensive they are right now, I could go anywhere in between there to where they're not selling as much to going all the way down to where they'll sell like wildfire. If I need to do a flash sale on them, it gives you that availability to be able to do that flash fire sale on it and get it out of your inventory to get that cash back. And that's something that if you're investing into a hobby like this, is something that you should always be considering. Is I always overbuy what I want for my actual inventory. So if I want 5, I'll buy more than 5 with the intention that in the short term, playing how things work out, that you can sell more of it off. So even in Scarlet and Violet, for example, you could have done that even on Paldean Evolved and Obsidian Flame. You could have bought that at around $85, $89, $85 for those particular boxes. You could have bought 4 cases of that and waited until now, where it's up to 115, 110 roughly. You could have sold 3 of those and had, one whole case on the shelf almost free of charge. And it's working in Scarlet and Violet as well. Granted, it's not as easy as Sword and Shield because you don't have these big jumps right away. But in general, we do see that between even reprints. You have that reprint, you've got that dump. You can jump in on the dump and really get some value in those cases. And then as slowly as it chews through and goes through the system and goes through the meat grinder and everybody starts burning up that stock, eventually you can sell some of those out and make it back up. So those opportunities really do present themselves quite a bit. And there's really good opportunities to grow an inventory without having the risk that's involved with it, where you can always be liquid and make money or at least break even no matter what in the current Pokemon market. I mean, it'd have to completely fall out for you to completely be stuck to the point where you can't at least break even on this. I mean, let's be honest, at $38, am I at a risk of losing money on Evolving Skies? Not really. I mean, most of the stuff that I have on the shelf has either been zeroed or it's, going to be somewhere right around that point of zero. I mean, like that, $38 for a booster box is really nothing most points in the market. Let's see, back to Matthew. Plus this is believe this whole controversy is more on the amount of investment channels now compared to what it is. Used to just be pack openings, now it's graphs and stocks. I think the problem is that I heard that debate too, even during that live, that there's a lot more investment channels. And I will 100% agree that there are a lot more investment channels. And there's 2 reasons I think that that's actually occurring. And this is my feelings on it. Number one, The number one reason I know it's occurring is because people are investing and people are really liking investment and they are going to invest. I mean, that's just as you become an adult, it's kind of something that is ingrained into us is that we need to put money somewhere. Where do we put it? And graphs and charts and people breaking things down is what's really, really good for us. So in general, that's one of the reasons. The number two reason that I think is a really big factor to it is once again, you're catering to adults. And when you're catering to adults do get an adrenaline rush. Do I get an adrenaline rush when I see someone opening up packs for me, when I buy packs on a thing? Of course. But it's a little bit more short-lived compared to someone that's younger. As we get in closer to our 40s, I think you're going to see more investment channels and more people talking about numbers as this group, this 27 to 40-year-old group, moves a little bit further up because that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to listen to. I would much rather listen to someone talking about potential investments in the hobby that I love and potential places where I could make a little bit extra money or capital than someone opening up packs, because to me, opening up packs at my age is a loss of money. If I want to buy a card for my collection, unless my kids open it or, I'm just messing around and having some fun opening packs with friends or whatever, and I pull a card, then it goes in my binder. But in my experience, it's always better just to buy the card that you want. You're going to spend way less money unless you're extremely lucky, and I'm not that lucky, so I just end up buying the cards that I like. I don't get as much of, I guess, overall for the longevity of me watching something. I will watch an investment channel for hours, even like JLUV and all these other channels. I will watch them for hours on end, just listening to different ones rather than watching pack openings. I just don't watch that many pack openings anymore just because it doesn't give me the long-term thrill. It's a short-term thrill and then it's gone, and then I want information, and I want to get information and learn more about the hobby and learn about where someone else's perspective is on things. My perspective can become very close-minded if I don't have another person's perspective or other people's perspectives to fill in the gaps of what I might have. Using other people's perspectives can grow where you are and make you stronger. I've even said that several times. Don't just watch my channel. If you're just watching my channel as for your investment advice, you're doing yourself a disservice. I don't even watch just my channel. I watch like 7 or 8, sometimes 12 different channels on a weekly basis to really put together that full picture of what's going on. You become closed-minded if you're just watching if I'm just watching my own stuff and nothing else, I become very tunnel-visioned. While if you start to watch other people's perspective, you might miss something that's very obvious just because you're in your own zone and you're doing your own thing. And it's very good to be switching it up and changing and looking at different people's perspectives. Definitely can change your viewpoints a lot of times. Matthew, the atmosphere in the hobby changed and it's unnerving. I don't know if it's so much unnerving. I mean, it's just, to me, it's growth. And we've seen that on a lot of different hobbies in general. I mean, you go sports cards, you go collect cars, you go through all these different areas of the hobby. And in general, you really do see this occur. It's not abnormal. And this is just more growth. The real question is that when it comes down to even this hobby, the only way that this hobby is going to survive, and I know this isn't something that a lot of people like to talk about, is we got to be sure that we make it manageable for the next generation to get into it, or it isn't going to matter. If my son can't get back into this hobby because we price lock him out, that is going to be a disservice to the hobby in general at some point in time, especially on the investment and the collecting side. So these are all things that we need to consider as well. It's growth. We want that next generation. We got to get that next generation in here and completely seated. Now, I think we've done that. Personally, I think we've done it to the point where we are going to, without a doubt, have another generation of Pokemon collectors. My son's group, that 7 to 13 to 15-year-old group right now are really that group. And I feel that they will do really well. And once again, they'll probably fall back to Sword and Shield, just like a lot of us fell back to WotC because we enjoyed WotC. That's where we were comfortable, especially when we come back into the hobby. You tend to fall where you're comfortable and then go back forward. All right. Now, where are we at? Yes, thank you so much, iFOMO, for putting that up. Greatly appreciated. I should have put the link. I don't know why I didn't put the link in. I'm not used to having merch, so sorry about that. but greatly appreciated. Casey, when was he? Yeah, okay, I already did that. There's the giveaway. Alex, thank you so much for joining in. Glad to have you here. Let's see. 4K Travel Tours. Will 151 be a better investment than Evolving Skies long term? Ooh, that's a tough one. It's really going to be one of those real big chases now at this point in time for 151, and it's really going to depend on the number of reprints 151 receives. They seem to be really, really good at doing so and continuing. I don't think 151 is going to be as good as Evolving Skies. That's just my personal opinion. Evolving Skies just has so much to offer for so many people, and it's always going to be... That Moonbryon is going to be the GOAT for a long time. That's the new chart. This is this generation's Charizard. So that's the crazy thing is that for my son, he has no interest in a base set Charizard, but he wants a Moonbryon. He wants a Moonbryon. He wants a Chunkachu, but that's just it. You got to remember when we're growing hobbies and you get that next generation, our Charizard, first edition Charizard, is now their Moonbryon. And that's exactly where you get that staggering now. Do I think that 151 has something to offer that's going to be better than a Moonbryon or better than the Evolutions, Rayquaza, Dragonite and all that inside that set? No, I do not think that 151 will perform as hot. Now, can you make more money in 151 at the point that we are right now? Quicker? Yes. If you are going to invest right now, 151 would be the better investment in my opinion. I think Evolving Skies is going to grow, but it's going to grow much slower percentage-wise. So dollar for dollar, if you're going to buy $700 worth of something and you had a choice between an Evolving Skies booster box right now and 151, I would probably buy 151 because percentages, that has a better chance of growth than Evolving Skies does right now. Now, talk to me again when taxes come back next year, because I'm going to probably tell you the other way when tax season comes. Because as you can see, we get these big growths at tax season because people get refund, and that's expendable money for a lot of people. And that's when we get that jump. And that's when we get that boom where all of a sudden Evolving Skies might go from an $800, $900 booster box, wherever it is at that point, and all of a sudden it'll be an $1,800. That's when those things occur. Matt, with all that being said, I do like both sides, collecting, buying singles, and even having sealed. I just noticed a big shift in content being put out about Pokemon. Yeah, and that's something there is a lot more, and I think the problem is too, Matthew, what you learn is that the YouTube algorithm is part of the blame for that. My algorithm really doesn't send me opening channels anymore. And that's just fact that all these Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, any of them, Facebook, they all run on an algorithm that's going to give you something you're interested in. So if you start watching investment channels, it's going to feed you more investment channels, which is going to make it look like there's a lot more investment channels. And they're going to make it look like there's a lot more people watching these investment channels. That does not necessarily mean that there's more of them. It just means you're seeing more of them. I think that's a bigger factor as well, too, maybe for yourself. I don't know how much you're investing or if you've shifted your viewing, but that could also be a factor when it comes down to what you're seeing and what you're getting put in front of you. Because honestly, on my end, for the last 3 years, I've seen a couple come in, but realistically, I haven't seen a big growth in investment channels. There's always some that are rotating through, and there's always some that are moving up. But it's definitely not something that I think is growing as big as, as you're thinking currently. It might just be the way that you're viewing things. I FOMO, it's because business versus morals will always clash, even though they say the same thing. There's some tunnel vision in that live. Yeah, there is. You always get tunnel vision at some point. That's just a fact. Casey, anyone have a link to that live? Thank you so much, iFomo, for throwing that up. Matthew, Nostalgianomics also said 35% of his investment portfolio is Pokemon, and that's crazy. like I said earlier in the live, that's just absolutely insane to me to have that much money tied up in Pokemon. I mean, personally, if I was that high, I would either be looking at my other investments, because either you're getting too lopsided with a collectible. That's just my opinion. I mean, if you want to take the risk, I guess to each their own. But 35% is just way too high. I would probably not cross 10% myself. I'm about 5 to 7. Like I said earlier, somewhere around that 5 to 7 is where I'm usually at with my total investments are in Pokemon. Otherwise, if I'm getting like over 10, I'm going to probably stop putting money in Pokemon and make a bigger purchase, such as in property investment or something of that nature, rather than putting it into Pokemon. I'd rather see my property investment maintain a high level rather than my Pokemon maintaining that much of my portfolio. It's just, there's a lot of risk involved with that, and that risk is you're condensing that risk and really taking a big section of your portfolio. Now, I'm not saying it's none of my business. If you want to do 100% of your portfolio, I can't stop you. But it's just not, to me, it's not suggestible. I would not suggest doing that. That's just me personally. That's just way too high. But if he's comfortable with it, he can go for it. I mean, that's absolutely up to him. Let's see. Jason, thank you so much for jumping in. Is Pokemon Sword and Shield alternate arts an asset or a liability? Guess I'm not sure what you mean by that. I always consider them an asset, because alternate arts are definitely the blood flow of the Sword and Shield era. They're definitely what everybody's going to be looking for, even now and futuristically. So I really do think that in general, I think it's going to be a really good thing. And that's definitely going to be a big factor to it, I think. Is it a liability? No, I don't see them being a liability. I mean, the only liability factor is if they lose a lot of money, or if you think that they'll lose a lot of money. In general, no, I think that they're just an asset. I always consider them an asset personally. All my collection is really an asset. I think anybody's collection should be considered an asset. If you're collecting alternate arts or investing in alternate arts, they should be considered an asset, not a liability. FOMO, I think Jillian finally understood during the Q&A. Yeah, he found out pretty quick on that, didn't he? Yeah, that wasn't good. Let's see. 4K Travel Tours. What Scarlet and Violet set do you have the most invested in? Paldea Evolve. Paldea Evolve by far is my highest one. I enjoy the set. I think it's a very strong set, and I feel that it's a very underrated set currently, just because of the lack of interest in Scarlet and Violet. I'm actually kind of excited to see Sword and Shield completely sell out in Pokemon Center and completely start selling out on the market, just because I really do want to see see what Scarlet and Violet can do. And I know that there's a chance that we might get reprints of those particular sets, which is always in the back of my mind, for the first 2 years especially. So we're only 1 year in on Paldea Evolve, so it'd be really interesting to see in the next year if we do get a reprint. The one that I would be most concerned about a reprint currently would be Obsidian Flame. And the only reason being is that Obsidian Flame is got a lot of cards that are very playable in multiple decks. So example, the Pidgeot. The Pidgeot is definitely a very strong card. It is used in a multitude of decks. I currently run it in 3 of my decks. So I run it in my Charizard EX deck. I run it in my Gengar Roaring Moon deck. And I am also running it in my Gardevoir deck. So I've got it in 3 of my decks, because that quick search is a freaking lifesaver to be able to get that built up fast and be able to pull any card you want out of your deck to build your hand is freaking huge. Pull any trainer, any card, any evolution, anything that's in your deck is free game with that card. And that thing is a control freak. If you're trying to get a control deck, that is the #1 card. When you have a card that playable and is that strong, even this far away from Obsidian Flame being released and being used in championship decks that are being on regional winning decks and stuff like that, that's going to be a big factor for a reprint, because as that card gets more expensive but still in demand by players, Pokemon has a tendency to reprint those particular sets more than others. So Yes. Currently, my highest one is in Paldea Vault. That's where I'm kind of at my highest point right now. I think I have 3 cases of that. All the rest of them, I just have one, and I've bought them at the lowest point that I could on the other, each one having one. So that's kind of where I'm at currently on Scarlet and Violet. But I do like Paldea Evolved. I think it's a very strong set. Matt, that's a great way to go about it. Son of a Merc, still here. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good, son of a Merc. Danny, why do you sell on TikTok? It does not seem like you need the money. I sell on TikTok because I want to buy more things. Basically, I'm trying to make this completely self-sufficient. And basically, I just like to enjoy continually moving. And plus, I like being in front of people. I enjoy having conversations, and TikTok is a completely different animal than my YouTube group. I mean, they are very much all collector driven. They are very much on the chase, and they want to do things, and it's enjoyable for me. I like opening packs, and it's a way to get my fix without me spending a large amount of money on myself. But on the other hand, I do enjoy just being involved in that community as well. I mean, I'm kind of mixed up in several different communities because I do enjoy collecting quite a bit. I have getting rather large collections again, and on top of it, I am playing, so I am looking for those playable decks. So there's a lot of things going into it. I just enjoy selling on TikTok. It's a lot of fun, and I also do sell just some sealed product as well, and it's a way for me to recoup. So when I open packs on TikTok, so I'm building my inventory for, like I said, I buy like 4 cases. I'll sell 3 of them on TikTok, make back that money, so I got the free one on the shelf. So that's just how you build that inventory as well. It's a great outlet to do so. Kevin Clear, thank you so much for joining in. And they'll love the best. Yeah. I FOMO. These Sword and Shield alternate arts when kids grow up. Yeah, they're going to be pretty hot. That's for sure. With Pop, as it is, they should be, yeah. They should be fairly easy for kids to get, I would think. Pricing's going to be kind of interesting, especially on specific alternate arts. They're definitely going to be interesting. What I say, investing. Thank you so much for what I say, also for joining in again. Greatly appreciated to see you here. Investing is absolutely real. Not sure why people even question that. Great video. Thank you so much. What I say, Neb151 is more comparable to Evolutions and CP6 than Evolving Skies. Yeah, I could definitely give it that one. That would be more of a comparison for it. Yeah, just another similar reprint, but not really reprint. I mean, it's kind of in between. Jacob, thank you so much for joining in. Hey, he said 5 to 7, and I'm here over 90%. Yeah, that's what I said. If you're comfortable with it, you can do what you want. But to me, that's just too much. But I've also got other investment things going on, so. Restock Shock, thank you so much for joining in. Let's see, my boy. Let's see, here we go. Sword and Shield alts have a few plays left. Most are priced out of the market right now. Yeah, agreed. A lot of them are getting priced out fairly quickly. They're going up extremely fast. There are some that are hidden. You know, some of the lesser known ones are definitely there. You're just going to have to dig them out, especially in Chilling Reign. Check out a lot of Chilling Reign ones. There's definitely some diggers in there that you could dig out, like the Galarian Rapidash, another good example there. You know, that Reggie Drago, another one that's staying pretty low. The Lilligant's another one sitting out there. Let's see. Does anyone have 10x copies of an alternate art? Just trying to think if I got 10. No. The most I have is, well, I got a lot of Celebies, but I don't think I might have 10 Celebies, but I really did enjoy that card, and I thought that card was extremely underrated. Otherwise, I've got like 2 or 3 of a lot of different cards, but I don't really have, I don't have very many of them I have 10 copies of. Just that Celebi, I think I got 10 copies of that. Otherwise, it's more like 4 or 5 copies of a lot of them. Just trying to think if there's any that I'm missing, because no, I don't think so. The Mew from Pokemon Go, I think I've pulled that one. I might have 10 of them just because I pulled it so many times. I've never sold it. Kevin Clear, I bought 20 Sleepy T-Tar when they were like 50. Yeah, that would have been a good deal. I have a couple, but I've never pulled it myself, but I bought a few of them just to have them. Stock Shock, I've got 11 copies of Espeon. That's a good one to have, really strong one. Oh, Mason, I missed you. Sorry about that, Mason. How you doing? People are sure dumping them at my store. What are they dumping at your store? What card are you getting dumped on right now, Mason? Danny, the reason my portfolio is so high in Pokemon is that it has grown in value so much. Yeah. A lot of ours have. I mean, if you just hold on to it and kind of sit on it, definitely. I miss it. Are you just talking about alternate arts dumping at your shop? Okay, let's see. Jacob. I'm maybe 20k worth of Sword and Shield graded alternate arts right now and been trading for sealed Scarlet and Violet. You know, that's if you're, I don't know how old you are or if you're investing in anything or if you have any other opportunities for investment, but you know, if you have, of course, a job opportunity for a 401k plan, definitely take that. You know, those things are important to have. Having it all in Pokemon is just a really big risk in general. That's just my opinion. You know, I know you said earlier you had 90% in it, and I mean, hopefully, you know, if you can own a house, you know, buy a house, start getting some equity in a home. Those things are all kind of things that you should be looking at as you're growing and looking at diversifying your investment portfolio. You definitely don't want to be, you know, that deep into Pokemon. I mean, I know right now it's really good and everything's holding and everything seems to be maintaining over the last 3 years, but that doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. You might see, my bigger concern is when we come down to that macro economy, if we get to a point where we go into a recession and actually get a call to recession and everything starts slowing down, we're getting a lot of lopsidedness right now in the economy, and that also gets a little bit concerning for Pokemon because it's a great investment, but if that macro economy shifts, it may not be so good. But then again, not very many investments will be doing very good. It's just, you know, everything's a crapshoot. You usually try and diversify to try and lessen that blow. In my opinion, Pokemon's a lot of expendable money, and a lot of people just kind of shifting out and going, I got extra money, I want to spend, I want to have something I love, so I'm going to buy Pokemon, and that's exactly what we're seeing. That will really shut down when people have to make a decision on whether or not they want to buy food or pay for their car or buy gas, and rather than actually going in through and, you know, working at your house. Your house may hold more value long term than your Pokemon collection if that occurs. Not saying it will. You know, there's a lot of indicators that said it will, that it could. It's just something to be considering. Restock Shock. I stay raw. Restock. I think Espeon VMAX alternate art is still a play. I think so. I mean, it's half the price of the Gengar right now, and overall, it's another evolution. I think there's quite a few of the evolutions are still a play, except for the Leafeon is really kind of out of whack comparatively. The Umbreon V, all that are getting really high in price, but like the Glaceon VMAX, all of those are still fairly decent. They're going up quick, so if you want to be considering it, you definitely want to jump in soon. It's already getting there, 10:15, so I'm going to probably call it quits after Restock Shock here. It's greatly appreciated for everybody that's been joining in, but I'll go through the rest of the chat here real quick just to get caught up. Jacob, my wife says, I'm crazy, but little does she know I was picking up Cinderellas and Bellas for... Yeah, that'll do. Kevin Clear, I stopped collecting at Sword and Shield. I bought some 151 and nothing else. And there's quite a few people that did. I mean, that's definitely something that's a thing. I mean, a lot of people did stop at that point in time. Trying to look and see. I thought I missed a question here that I was going to answer. Now I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Coming up. Just got ahead of myself. I'm into the SB. I'm into it lightly. I've been concentrating a lot on Sword and Shield right now just because, you know, the buys have been there. Lost Origins, Brilliant Stars, even buying into Fusion Strike. and trying to get in a Silver Tempest now. I'm really buying the Sword and Shield. That's where my main focus is right now for the investment side, is in Sword and Shield. But I definitely think that, Scarlet and Violet's definitely going to get its time. It's just going to have to work into it a little bit more. There's still too much opportunity in Scarlet or Sword and Shield right now. As that gets priced out more and more, it's definitely going to shift a little bit more. And more people that have been hesitant or staying back might actually be kind of forced up, potentially at that point. Let's see. Jacob, I have 10x of the VMAX Gengar from Fusion Strike I got for $50. Yeah, I think I got 5 copies of them. I think they were like $65 a piece. 65 to 70. I was buying a bunch of them at that point when they went up, because I think they went down to like 50, like 50, 51, and then when they started going back up, I bought a bunch of them before they really shot out of there. Got back over 100. Restocked. Okay, here, Northwoods. How many Mew VMAX alts do you have? I specifically remember you saying it was a great grab at 50. How many did you stock up on? I'm trying to remember which shelf it's in. I want to say I bought like 8 of them, 7 or 8 of them at $50. I'm trying to remember which. It might actually be outside in my other, because I got a lot of alternate arts. They're all in these card savers that are out in the side here. It's either 7 or 8. I didn't quite buy 10 of them, but I did buy like 7 or 8 of them at $50. I bought a lot of alternate arts. The high, especially like the evolutions. I bought a lot of them when they were way under $100, and they've gone up quite a bit. I usually stop right around 5 to 8. That was kind of my threshold on quite a few of them. That was just my comfortable spot, and I was good with that position. I mean, if I got that many, I'm happy with that position, and that's kind of where I stayed at. So I want to say I went a little bit heavier on them because the Mew VMAX was a really, really strong, I thought was a really good card. Plus it was playable, which was another factor to it. So I could, let me message you afterwards. I'll restock. I'll put it up here and I'll at you at it. I'll count them. I'm pretty sure there's probably 8, 7 or 8. Jacob, I'm a risky man. I know it's a fault, but I've always been that way. Just sold a home and made 120K on it and put 100K into Pokemon Locana in One Piece. I know it's a risky, but I'm cashing out along. I mean, if you're willing to take the risk, I mean, there's always that risk reward gain, and you can always take that in consideration. That's just not me personally. That's not what I would do. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying anybody can't do it. If that's, like I said, if Nostalgianomics is comfortable at 35, fine. That's great. If he's comfortable at that point, I'm not going to hold it against him. I don't think it's bad. It's just, for me, 35 is way too high. I wouldn't go above 10 for me personally. 5 to 7 is right where my happy spot is. I'm happy right where I'm at, because that means my other investments are gaining and growing and doing well along with my Pokemon investments. I want to see all my investments do really well. Granted, I could probably sell some property or sell some things and really jam up and really go up in Pokemon and push it up that high. It's just, to me, it's not worth it. And plus, trying to get above my property investments are definitely going to be really difficult to do so. It would take a lot of money to push me up, even up to that 25, 30%. And to me, it's just not worth taking that much into it personally. Pokemami, thank you so much for stopping in. It's looking through Jacob, restock. I'm sitting on maybe 100 or more, and I'm up big on those. They have performed well for me. I got them all between. Just looking through restock. I'm glad I know there are other fellow high-end card holders like myself. Yeah, I don't hold 10. I don't hold like 10 of them or anything like that. I usually go 5. Some of them I think are better, I'll push 8. Celebi was one of them. I was picking them up at like $21, and it's like, yeah, I have no problem buying multiples. I might actually have like close to 20 of them. I got a lot of Celebis, but they were Beedrills too. I got quite a few Beedrills. That might be another one I'm over 10, just because the pricing was so low on them. It just didn't make sense. Regidragos, I've been buying a few of them now too at $14. I mean, you can buy 10 of them at 100, pay 100, $150 for 10 of them, and if they go up $3, you're still doing really well. It's a good percentage gain on that little amount. Pokemami, with inflation at the rate it is, it's going. Your money is safer in many other places than the bank. Well, I agree with that. I just keep enough in the bank for an emergency, and that's all that I keep. Um, Realistically, my bank account always has about 8 grand in it. That's the most I ever keep in there, just because it doesn't make me any money. It's just a loss, and I don't like having a loss of money. I'd rather have my money working for me, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in Pokemon, whether it's in, my 401k or other investments that we're working on, or my business. I can do more with it in my business than I can actually in the bank right now. Even with the high interest rates, the banks do not reflect that like they should. The savings accounts should definitely be a lot higher than what they are to entice people to put money into savings. They aren't moving the savings accounts up. The banks are just pocketing the money on the interest right now, which is really, really bad in general for the economy. How do you feel about Crown Zenith? Really strong set. I think it's kind of slept on right now, and I think overall it's a very, very, very good opportunity for a lot of those trainer gallery cards in those particular sets. And I think on Friday, watch my video on Friday, because I'm going to be talking about trainer galleries, because that's something that I think everybody's focused on alternate arts. Trainer galleries are just as hot in some areas that I think are just getting missed. There's a lot of great opportunities in them. Crown Zenith with that Galarian gallery, another perfect example of some really good cards that are just kind of sitting there stagnant right now. And as the price continues to move up, I think on these alternate arts, we're gonna see people looking at these alternate trainer gallery cards and those kind of those potential things coming up here in the near future. What do I say? Your thoughts on Celebrations? Awesome set, gonna be a great little generational thing. I'm excited to see the 30th, so you can have the 20, 25, and 30. I think it's gonna be a really cool set. In general, when it comes down to Celebration set, I've never been a big fan of Celebrations. You can go back to where it was released. I got so much criticism for it. I've just never been a huge fan of Celebrations because I'm not a reprint fan. I'd rather buy the original than buy the reprint. The reprint is just degrading it even further than what it was originally. So I would rather have the originals rather than what I would call a proxy. Even legendary collections, the only thing I ever kept out of legendary collections were the reverse hollows because they were new. I might be an odd man out. Do I have Celebrations? Of course I do. Do I think that it's great? Yeah, I think that there's going to be some value to it. I just don't know. It's just not as strong of a set as it could have been. I always was kind of disappointed in the set in general. I think they could have done a lot more for the 25th anniversary, but thanks for the video. I appreciate the hard work from you and the other PokeTubers that keep me busy on my and my wife annoyed. Well, that's what we're here for. The Big Potato. Do you think Paldea Evolve would be reprinted for this holiday season? If so, do you think the print quality will be better and the Magikarp chase will be over? I don't know. Paldea Evolved really doesn't have anything playable. Paldea Evolved is really just a collector set at this point, and Obsidian Flame, I'm almost positive we'll see it. I'm almost positive we'll see a reprint on Obsidian Flame. That's just my feeling, because there's that Charizard EX deck is still strong. We got the Pidgeot that's really strong out of there that's being used in a lot of decks. That's a very versatile card. I don't know about base set or Paldea Evolved. I would not be surprised if they skipped over it. I think we might see an ETB reprint or something like that. I don't know if we'll get a large booster box reprint. There might be some, but just not a lot. All right, I'm going to have to call it quits here, guys. My wife's tapping on the floor. I'm getting the notification. Restock. I already picked up 6X Pikachu VMAX T. Yep. Very, very nice. Son of a Merc. The Brilliant Stars Umbreon TG 23 was 30 just a few days ago, and now it's 75. I saw that coming and grabbed a few then. I did too. I actually bought about 10 of those. I was really happy. They're in the mail right now, and they've almost doubled them. They've over doubled in price. It's always glad. It always makes you feel really good when you buy something and it's gaining value on the way here. As it's coming from wherever they're coming from to here, they're gaining value in the mail. That's just an awesome little feeling that you could get ahead of something like that. And like I said, I try to be transparent. I'm going to talk about that on Friday, but the problem is that when you're talking about some of these cards, I would love to be 100% transparent. But the issue is that making videos fast enough sometimes just can't happen. This is where you learning the markets and learning things are definitely a good way to do that and get that opportunity to learn where to hit. So example, knowing that is definitely a great opportunity to get ahead of some of that. That Umbreon, all the Umbreons went in value, and that one kind of sat a little bit longer. So I bought 10 of them thinking that could happen. And sure enough, I mean, as they were coming, as they're shipping out, I'm sure that people who were shipping them were probably a little upset that they were leaving, a day or two, and then the price started to shoot. Or people like me and him could be the reason that this price happened, was because we just bought 20 of them or 30 of them off the market, and we just kind of sucked it dry and pulled all that value out. So I mean, we could be creating our own Black Swan event right now. A couple people buying a big quantity of these cards at $30 is driving the price up. So I mean, that's always an opportunity. Pokemami agree on Crown Zenith. Some of my favorite cards. Yes, I love them. The Sleeping Mew is definitely a great one. Hey, Pika Pika. Thank you so much for joining in. FOMO said I'm going to get down to the end. So Jacob Henderson, you're the last one I'm going to do. The last comment, so looks like it's going to be the end night, but yeah, good night. Jacob, I'm currently investing big in Paldea Evolved restock, maybe 5 cases so far and going. Awesome. Yeah, I like Paldea Evolved and definitely grabbing some of that. And like I said, that's my favorite set right now. 151, of course, as the holiday set, is definitely one that I've put a lot into as well, especially in those 6-pack bundles. Hey, Pokemon TCG, thank you for joining in here. Sorry, we're about to head out, but thank you so much for dropping in. Pokemami, don't sleep on Japanese. You can pick up some great stuff right now for cheap, and I think the cards have so much better. Yes, definitely agree. As you can see next to me, some of that's going to TikTok, but I do have been picking up some Japanese as well, especially 151. So I want to clarify on 151 too while I'm here before I leave. So I talked to the 3 that I thought the reprint, and I misunderstood what they were talking about. What they were doing is that they kept a certain amount in their inventory. So what they did is they were cleaning out their inventory, knowing that reprint was coming, and they're going to restock their own inventory for themselves. So basically, I bought the original stock that they had because they knew they were getting new stock in. So the ones I got, 2 of them were from Hawaii, one's from California, and they were doing that. I talked to the one guy in Japan that I had not been able to get a hold of for the last couple weeks. He finally answered me back the other day and said, guys are correct. The reprint's still coming here in May. And when that reprint hits, then we're going to really see some potential, definitely some potential changes in that market. So we could still see a dump or drop in the Pokemon 151 pricing, just FYI for anybody out there. I would definitely be watching it. Some of the places are just dumping their stock knowing it's getting replenished. So that's another factor as well. So like the 2 in Hawaii and the 1 in California were just literally dumping their stock in the intentions that they knew that they were getting replenishment back. So there might be a little bit of weird things, but that's the problem is in the United States market with Japanese product is you really don't know what their system is or how they're getting that. So like I said, I just wanted to clarify that the ones that I talked to that are United States based are pretty much just selling out their entire stock because they know that in May they're getting completely new stock in, so they're just replenishing. Yep, good night. Pokemon TCG, Pika Pika. Danny, most investment experts say that you should have 30 to 40% cash in your portfolio. I get 5% interest on mine. Yeah, I've got a couple bonds and things like that. CDs that are doing that about 4.5%, 5%, but I don't have 30 to 40%. I don't believe in that. I know most investors, experts would say that. That's fine. I keep it up for emergency events, and I always know that I could sell out some things and definitely move some things around to get the cash. It's not a problem. If you know you can do that, then you're fine. What 151 pricing were you looking at? So I purchased those ones at $68 from the person in Hawaii. I got 10 of those. The 2 behind me, I bought a little bit higher. So you can see that there's the 2, right here on my shoulder. Those ones are a little bit higher. Those were at $85 a piece. But currently they're going over 100 already. They're going up quite a bit because like I said, a lot of the U.S. distributors I don't call them distributors, but the the United States based sellers are already clearing out their stock. So now they're actually increasing their price because they're getting a lot of requests for more products. So yeah, it's kind of one of them things that keeps moving and shifting and changing for sure. So 151 is going to be interesting. I would probably hold on purchasing anything until probably mid-May here. I think it's May 14th is going to be the reprint. So next week, we'll be seeing the reprint on that. So when it occurs, then we'll really see what's going to happen in the pricing, and how much they produce is really going to be the question as well. But all right, guys. Well, I made it to the end of the chat. I got all caught up with you guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Greatly appreciated, as always, for you guys to join in on Tuesday nights. As always, make sure you guys hit that like button before you leave. It definitely helps out a ton to do so. Also, as iPhone will put in the chat, and I'll put in the description afterwards, we are doing the merch now too. And you guys do enjoy those, just check them out. They're kind of cool. We got some cool little designs. Let me know in the comments what you think of the designs too. Did a little bit differently. Didn't quite. I got one that's just my logo, but otherwise they're not really logo-y. They're just kind of a fun little design system on those ones. So guys, check them out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Last but not least, as we did this today, the first of the month, we will be doing the membership giveaways too. So it's greatly appreciated for the members out there. If you would like to support the channel, of course, membership is open, and we will be doing the monthly giveaway next month right away. Typically I'm going to try and do it right on the first live of the month. That way we get you guys taken care of right at the beginning of the month, and then it's all the members. So right now, anybody that joins in May will be in June's giveaway. But other than that, guys, thank you everybody that's joined in. Once again, greatly appreciated everybody out there. Greatly appreciated to have you here. And once again, everybody, make sure you guys hit that like button before you leave. Watch on Friday. We'll be talking about Trainer Gallery cards. That's going to be Friday's video that's coming up. Other than that, guys, we will see you next time here on... Oh, sorry about that. Thank you so much, Pokemon, for joining into the Emoji Club. Thank you so much for jumping in as well. Greatly appreciated. I'm leaning pretty hard on Temple Forces as well. Those top cards look too good, and yeah, I'm buying some of those just because they seem really, really low in value. So other than that, thank you everybody for joining in, and we will see you next time here on Northwoods TCG.